Hello, I am Melody Ann, founder of Author Nation. We are a community of authors like you. If you want to become a successful nonfiction author, please join us. We have resources, we have support, we have accountability so that you can get your book done and truly become a successful nonfiction author. The link is in the description. Today, I want to talk about book returns. Recently, I posted a video about book returns explaining them. Today, I want to give you two stories about two authors who have had book returns, what happened, how it happened, what they did about it. So the first is a really active author. She has a daughter and she's also an author, and they do book signings together at bookstores. They are incredibly active. They go to bookstores, they build relationships with bookstores and the bookstore employees and managers. They do these bookstore signings. They're proactive about it. They walk around the store, they engage people, they engage store patrons. The stores love them, the people love them. They're a lot of fun. You go into a bookstore and all of a sudden you're having a good time. That's a fun thing. So this is what they were doing. And they were doing it really well, and they were quite successful. So when they met the patrons and they met the employees and they met the managers, they created a really good environment. And then after, when they left, the managers and the store employees felt really good about them. Their books landed up like getting premium book space, like shelf space. The employees would recommend their books, direct people to their books. And so it worked out really, really well. They were really dedicated to this strategy of getting their books into the local bookstores, and also like just getting their, when they traveled too, there were certain places they would go over and over, and so when they were there they would do book signings in those stores as well. And so that was a really, really good strategy, and it really helped sales. So we talked about book returns, and that sometimes books are returned, and Ingram Spark, for example, does not, I'm not trying to pick on Ingram Spark, other distribution channels may be the same, but I'm just going to talk about them today. They don't want them to, they don't want returned books to take up space, so they either ship them out to the author or they are destroyed, right? So eventually, some stores started buying their books outright rather than on consignment, and that was really, really good for them because that meant that they got the money up front and they didn't have to worry about returns. And that was one of the benefits of building these relationships with the stores. They moved off of consignment and they got into the store system. Not for every store, but for the stores that really knew them. They would buy, 2 or 3 copies at a time, keep them on the shelves, and they knew they'd sell them because the employees knew them and they'd direct people there. And so that worked out really well. Now here's where the stores where they had the books on consignment, here's where they really got bitten. And this is a direct quote from the author. And let me tell you, when COVID came out and the 2 years following, stores were getting rid of a lot of books. She went on to say, now we are in the system and haven't done consignment for years, so there's a difference here. The stores order our books in. However, being in the system makes it easier for the bookstore and the author. Stores like it when you're in the system. It's very frustrating as why they can't just, or they're talking about Ingram Spark here, they just can't keep the books and send them out with a different order rather than destroying them. The only reason given is space, and so they can't keep them all. However, what a waste and a disservice to the books and the environment, but that is how it is. So these two authors, when COVID hit, the books where they had been building these relationships and they were in the system of the store, they stayed there. Their books weren't returned. In the stores where they were still on consignment, all those books came back and they had to pay for them. And I'm going to tell you something else she said. I will say, though, that when we were doing book signings, we never had this happen. We never paid for any books being returned or destroyed. However, the past 2 years, we haven't been able to do signings, and that is when it started happening. So wow, the lesson here, what is that? 1, do book signings and not just sit behind, hide behind a desk and hope people will come to you. Do book signings, go out and, talk to people, build relationships with bookstores, because if you do book signings and you build a relationship with the bookstores, you get in the system and then your books won't be returned. Now, you can't do this for every store, and sometimes, you need to take a chance and maybe be on consignment, but for your local stores where you are, or where people sell books, print books, consider building relationships so you can be in the system rather than on consignment. It does make a huge difference. In the second story, the author was trying different ways to promote her books. She paid for a distributor to put a poster up at a US trade show. After that, over 300 books were sold. Wow, she was thrilled. She got an order for 300 books. Ingram Spark fulfilled that order, and she thought, this is great. This is a great way to market my book. Several months later, 250 books were returned. She landed up buying them at cost plus shipping. And then she was overstocked. She had 250 books delivered to her house. She had to figure out what to do with them. She lost money on them, and she landed up giving a number of them away. So lesson learned. She didn't do that type of promotion again. She did continue with Ingram Spark, and things were going really well. Then all of a sudden, during COVID, she got a bill for 113 books. She has no idea who ordered those books, but considering it was 113, she was thinking maybe it was a chain store, ordered, 5 books for each outlet. This is what she said about the situation, and this is a direct quote. What's even crazier is when I reached out to ask who, they said they never share that information. The stores doing it do it without any repercussions, in total anonymity. When you get bit, it's really discouraging. So if you're selling books through consignment on Ingram Spark or any distributor, read the fine print. That's the lesson here. Make sure you are ready to deal with the consequences of selling your books on consignment. And if you haven't watched my video about book returns, go watch that now. The link is in the description.